Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to the Marketing That Grows Your Business show. Today, we're going to be talking about speaking. Now, that is one of those topics that is kind of broad. A lot of people want to become a speaker, but a lot of people think about it through the lens of getting on somebody's stage and, they're going to get paid $5,000, $10,000, 25,000, the big bucks. But our guest today has a different approach to how you get paid to share your expertise. Now, we all have a measure of expertise. And guess what? There's an audience out there, multiple audiences that want to hear from you, that want and need your expertise. You just have to be intentional with finding them and monetizing them. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And I'm really excited about this because, like I say, our guest today has a very different approach to this. And I think it's an approach that literally everyone that's live with us or is watching on the replay or listening is going to get so much value out of today's show. So I want to say welcome to everyone as you guys are coming in. And tell me, where in the world are you this morning or this afternoon or potentially even this evening? We usually have a worldwide audience. So where in the world are you today? It is chilly here in Virginia. Went out this morning with all the things, the hoodie, the coat, the gloves. Those of you who've been following me for any length of time know that this Tampa girl that's been relocated to this cold weather place, it's been a little bit of an interesting dynamic. But anyway, it's getting back to the roots here. We do giveaways on all the shows. Today, we're doing something slightly different, but I think in the interest of this being Thanksgiving month, and obviously, I think we should all be showcase gratitude at any point, but we're going to be giving away our done for you social media graphics package. It's a gratitude collection. So it's all things gratitude. There's 20 different images. They're all pre-designed, professionally designed by our in-house graphics team. And all the sizes will be available for social, meaning you get the Facebook, the Twitter, the Instagram, all the sizes essentially. So they're plug and play. All you got to do is brand them and throw them out and put them on your socials. That's assuming you brand your social content. You don't have to. The point is they're going to be ready for you to get to share on social. So how do you win? We have 3 core ways that you can win. Share your aha moments in the comments. So that's, hashtag aha down under. So an aha moment is like, I didn't know that. Like, how you have that, wow, that's good. I didn't know that. Sometimes we need to hear the thing again. So those are also aha moments. You can spread the joy, sprinkle this out into the world or tag someone that might get value from today's topic. And thirdly, but definitely not last. Yeah, I guess it is last. We only have 3 ways to win. But ask questions. We love them. And the more you do all 3 of these things, the more entries you get into the Wheel of Wow, so that you have an opportunity to win the social media graphics. Okay, so let me see what we have. Cheryl in the house. Good morning, Cheryl from Silver Spring, Maryland. I bet it's cold up there too. Chilly. Paul, good to see you, my friend. It's always great to see you. Oh my goodness, Larry Becker, my friend, my long lost friend. How in the world are you? It has been forever since I've seen you. We need to catch up. All right. Let's see who else is in the house this morning. Cheryl says, yes, it is freezing up there. Absolutely. I bet it is. Well, let me tell you guys a little bit about our special guest today. Her name is Leisa Reid. And I recently had I did an interview with my friend Jim Fuse, and he says, hey, I have this amazing person that would be great for your show. He introduced us, and like I say, I'm really excited to have her because she has an expertise and an approach that is unique and different when it comes to speaking. So a little backstory on her, but let me tell you like her official bio or share her official bio. She's a speaker. She has booked and delivered over 600 talks, y'all. She coaches entrepreneurs on how to get booked and stay booked. She is passionate about teaching you how to get your talk ready to rock so that you can attract your ideal clients through speaking. In this session, she's going to share the number one secret she uses to get speaking gigs. So if you have wanted to be a speaker, then you are definitely, or not just be a speaker, but monetize the speaking, because why do the things you're not going to get paid to do, right? So like I say, I'm super excited that she's here, and again, will give us some new unique strategies to run with. So you guys put your hands together. Let's find my applause here for a second. I have my applause sound here. Here we go. Put your hands together for Leisa. Hey, Leisa.
Hey, I love that applause button. I need to get one of those.
They are pretty fun. It just gives a little extra pizzazz to the show. Well, welcome. I'm super excited that you're here. We were talking a little bit before, and so Lisa's like, well, I'm not exactly sure that that and she started to explain her approach is different. And I'm like, I didn't know that. So if there's some like repositioning of my questions as we go today, y'all, we're just going to go with the flow, because I'm excited that she does have a unique approach to speaking or getting speaking gigs. So Leisa, tell us a little bit about your backstory. Like, how did you get here? The 2-minute version, if you will.
Sure. I think one of the commonalities I hear from speakers or people who want to be speakers, there's always this like need, want, desire, calling, feeling like, oh, I should be doing that. And I always had that. So it just sort of followed, the little breadcrumbs were always there, but I didn't become a professional speaker until I was 40. And I'm 49 now. I know I look like 25, but I'm 49. And I was hired by a personal development company to go get business for them. And how they did their business development was through speaking and teaching audiences and people all over how the mind works and to give them an experience of their thinking. And so that's what I was hired to do. My first year, I booked 83 speaking engagements in my local area, because I was driving people to like this, not driving them physically, but like encouraging them to attend a local workshop. And so I would fill up all the workshops and just go out there and speak and educate. And that's how I got started. Eventually, people were asking me for help all the time. Other entrepreneurs, how did you get booked? How did you do this? How do you? That's when I finally was like, oh, okay, there's clearly a need here and I can support. So in 2017 is when I started Get Speaking Gigs Now.
I love it. So I want to really tug on something you just said and encourage everyone else to hear this or maybe rehear it. One of the things that Leisa just said is she kept getting asked, how did you do that? How did you do this or the other thing? Or how are you getting that success? And that is always a sign that you are 5 steps ahead of your person or 10 steps ahead of your person. That is opportunity knocking. If you don't listen to those opportunities, then you're going to miss out on the potential of having a business around that area of expertise that you have. Obviously you have it, or they wouldn't be asking you, like, right? So I just want to encourage people. I thought that was a real amazing, like, golden nugget kind of hidden within your story there. So speaking can be kind of scary for a lot of people. So even though people may think they have a passion, they have an expertise, they have a message that they want to make an impact, I think sometimes that fear factor can keep people from stepping forward into their amazingness. So how do you usually deal with that with people that have that kind of fear factor? They're like, I don't know if this is for me. What would you say to that person?
Well, typically there's so many different ways to approach that. Typically people come to me because they already have a desire to speak. So I'm not like an arm twister where I'm going to convince you. If you're terrified of speaking, typically people don't come and chat with me, or at least they don't want to hire me. But people who definitely have always wanted secretly to speak and or just maybe it's even not a secret, come to me, and they definitely are like, let's talk, because there's something holding me back. So fear can come in lots of different ways. So if we're talking about that, where it's like, I know I want to do this, but there's something niggling, there's something behind the scenes. I call that speaker's kryptonite. And it shows up like, I need to do more research. I'm still working on my talk. I'm not sure what exactly I'm going to say, but eventually I'm going to do it. And then there's someone that maybe aren't as close to the surface, and that would be more like, I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know if I go out there and speak, is it going to go well? Like, are people going to like me, like it, buy my stuff? Like, so that's where we get to the deeper concerns and fears that really make sense, because when you're speaking, I always say no one can do your push-ups for you. Like, you got to get up, like you're it. It's you, and you. So when I work with people, we try to really lower the anxiety about all that. And that's unique to everyone. We've all got our own little, things, speaker's kryptonite that's happening, and increase the confidence. There's so much that you can do, Kim, and you know this, but there's so much you can do before you get on stage that can really increase your confidence, lower the anxiety. So I try to avoid the late night, middle of the night, morning of stresses. Like, let's just get all that done ahead of time so that we're not worried about all that stuff. So
oh boy, I needed to hear that one. I am notorious for like last minute shifts, changes, etc., which is kind of leads me to something. I feel like when we are walking down this road of, hey, I want to be a speaker, or I'm already a speaker and I just need more. I want to get on more stages. There is still like there's two components of this that for somebody who is not there yet. Like, what do they know they want to be the speaker, they want to get, and maybe they've dabbled a little bit, but my core question here really, because I know I'm going towards the monetization piece of this, but I'm going to lay the foundation first. When somebody is just getting started and they want to and or I would even argue if you're already there but you don't have this component that I'm getting ready to talk about, is what is that, like that signature talk look like? What is your best advice for somebody that is, either just getting started or is somebody that has dabbled a little bit in speaking, but they don't yet have that signature talk? How do you help people define what that should be for them?
I could talk about that all day. How long is this show? No, just kidding. So I call that Get Your Talk Ready to Rock. And it's a format that I teach. I have a boot camp on it that someone can do themselves. I also offer that one-on-one with people. And then anyone who's in my Speakers Training Academy, we do a deep dive Get Your Talk Ready to Rock session. And I'll explain, pretty briefly what that means. We start at the end. Always start at the end first. It's kind of like the cake. I like cake. Who doesn't like cake? So we make the cake, and that is what's your offer? What's your call to action? And a lot of times people have multiple calls to action, meaning like in their business, they have like, oh, someone could hire me this way, or purchase this, or that. So, but we need to decide, what is the call to action for this talk? What brings you business the easiest? For example, I like to offer a speaker readiness assessment. It's a phone call with a person one-on-one, like we're going to chat, because that's how I like to run my business and invite people into my academy. I don't, it's an intimate relationship. It's an intimate conversation. So that works for me, right? A lot of my clients have a similar model where they want to actually talk to the person to see if it's a fit. So they might offer that opportunity at their speaking engagement. And then if somebody is resonating with their style, with their personality, with what they're talking about, that person in the audience can then go ahead and book that call, right? But that's just one example. There's like a billion examples, right? But what is important is that as a speaker, you've decided this is my call to action, because then everything else in the talk, in that Get Your Talk Ready to Rock session, is going to build on top of that and lead people to it. I consider your call to action like you're a tour guide. They signed up to kiss the dolphins. You got to get them to the dolphins. Like that's so that's the biggest component that I think a lot of people miss out on.
That's such a great analogy. So, it's fascinating. So I'm going to just share a quick story, because this is an example of the opposite of what you just said and why what you said is so valuable. Okay. So recently, I had somebody ask me to speak at an event, and it was about something that was totally different than I'd ever spoke about before, but it was based in our own experience, and it was around clear messaging, and it was to a group of chiropractors. So I go to this event, and my expectation was not to generate leads. I was just sharing value, knowledge, which is also, we're going to talk about that in a minute, why that's not a smart strategy. But anyway, I shared our story, kind of talked about the differences of, the before and the after, and painted some of our client work that we had done, etc. And when at the end of the presentation, I really didn't have a call to action. Another major mistake. But the event coordinator says, how many of you guys would like to work with Kim? And the whole room raised their hand. I mean, like every hand in the room. I was not prepared for that. And the reason I was not prepared is because I did not do what you just said to do, Leisa, which was start at the end and work my way back. I wasn't prepared for leads. I wasn't prepared to take on clients. So it's really important. And I love that you said that. Lots of times as speakers, we're programmed, if you will, to show up and give value, which leads me to really the core of what we talked about before, when in the green room before the show, which is why you have a very unique strategy, which is pre-planning. Really, your intention is to get on stages that you are going to monetize, which is different than getting paid to get on that stage.
Right.
So can you explain that real quick?
Yeah, I have so many thoughts going on in my mind. I love this conversation. I forgot there was something I was going to say, but anyway, it doesn't matter. Okay. So yeah, when I have a whole section on monetization in my Speakers Training Academy, and it's probably the most common question, because I'm working with entrepreneurs, business owners, healers, coaches, authors, right? We want to speak, but we also want to provide value for our business, right? So that's the point I was going to make when you were talking, Kim. It's like, yes, you want to provide massive value, which is what you did, Kim, which is awesome, because otherwise they wouldn't have raised their hand and wouldn't have wanted to work with you. So it's important to provide value. A lot of people do that. Especially in the healing industry, people, really heart-centered people, we want to provide value. But then what we do is sometimes we forget to provide value to our business. So it's that yin yang balancing act. Because if you do too much salesy stuff, people are going to be like, oh no, she just sold the whole time, or he just sold the whole time. So we don't want that either. So it is this nice, beautiful balance. It's got to make sense. Okay. So back to the other question. Monetizing. I think of monetizing. So we talked about cake already. Let's talk about pie. I think about monetizing as like a pie. Like what different pieces of the pie do you want to choose for your business? There's different ways that you can monetize speaking. Again, if we're keen and we're correct on the call to action that you've decided that really works best for you and your business, that could be a big piece of the monetization pie for you in speaking. Now, I don't want to ever discount getting a speaker fee as well. You can do both. In fact, right? You could monetize your talk and get a speaker fee. How cool would that be? So it's not a all or nothing or a choose A or B. It's a if you're in improv, both and, yes and, right? That's a possibility. Again, all with the correct strategies in mind. You never want to be out of alignment with any event that you're speaking at, or any of the meeting planner. You always want to have this all planned well in advance. And then you might have products, you might have books, there's all these different ways in which you can monetize. So my point is that a lot of times we don't realize what's available to us. We don't make decisions because, again, we're back in that speaker's kryptonite point of like, oh, I don't know if anyone would want my stuff. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm thinking about my pricing. We have all this self-doubt, these questions in our mind. So I'm a big fan of like stake in the ground. Let's make a decision, put a price on something, package it up. Let's go, put it out to market. Let's see what works. And then if it works, great. Then you're onto something, and you can start to up level and increase your prices or shift your packaging, whatever. But there's something, I think, the mistake I see a lot of times, especially out there, and all the different ideas and marketing and things like that, is that we think as in trying something for the first time, we think, oh, well, if that person made thousands of dollars, I'll just do that too. But maybe that person's not ready yet to step into that. So I'm a big fan of wading into the pool. Let's get you into the deep end of it. We're going towards the deep end, but I'm not going to throw someone in the deep end with weights on their ankles, because that's not going to work either. And then they're going to give up. So I definitely am a big believer of safely, let's get there.
Yeah, so good. So I'm just going to clarify something that you just talked about, where there is the opportunity to get paid to speak on somebody's stage. They reach out to you. I call it bumping into you strategy, because that's really one of my core strategies is let's just let people bump into me. They'll reach out to me if they want me to speak on their stage or whatever. Not good. I'm not saying that's a good strategy, but I'm just saying it is one. I mean, it's loosely one. And they can invite you onto their stage, whether that's a podcast interview but usually you don't get paid to speak on a podcast. So let me look at it through the lens of maybe a virtual event or a real in-person event. People hire you to come and speak on the stage, but the difference between that and potentially, and the way you teach this, Leisa, is you can get on stages, not necessarily have a speaking fee attached to that, but doesn't mean you can't be monetized in that opportunity.
Yeah.
So can you explain some examples of what that would look like? How do you get in front of somebody else's audience? Maybe they are not paying you to be there, but follow along with the path to monetization a little bit.
Absolutely. And this is something I do all the time. So I've been doing this for 9 years, where I really don't sweat the speaker fee. And I always encourage people, don't sweat the speaker fee, especially if you're newer to speaking, right? Or maybe you're trying to still figure out your strategies. Don't sweat that. But what I want you to focus on instead is, does that audience have potential clients in it, right? If you speak to women or women entrepreneurs and you get invited to speak for a half hour, an hour, 20 minutes, whatever, to a group of women entrepreneurs, that's a green light for the most part. I would say that's a yes. Okay. Now, if you speak to plumbers and they invite you to speak to a women's networking group, it's probably going to be a no, because potential of having any plumbers in the audience are pretty low. So that's a very kind of obvious, I think obvious, but sometimes we say yes to things because we think we're supposed to say yes. And so it's more of getting clear on what is your yes, where should you go? Where might your potential clients be? Now, once you know that, oh, that's a potential, one of my clients speaks on forgiveness. Okay, well, and her clients are women. Great. So then for her to speak to a group of women would make sense. Now, she doesn't know who's going to resonate with the message of forgiveness, but it's a human quality. It's a human thing that we talk about. So the likelihood of someone resonating with her message is pretty high. I'll give you an example of something. We had the pandemic in the middle of all our, speaking. I've been doing this for 9 years. And then I switched to virtual. Well, my very first in-person event after the pandemic, I was invited to speak to an event where there's no sales. It was a very strict no sales policy, right? And I knew that in the organization. So again, always want to be in line with the organization and make sure that you're following their rules. And I was volunteering my time, waiving my speaking fee, because this was going to be 100+ women entrepreneurs. I'm going to be there, and it's local. Great. Easy, yes. With that event, I was still able to increase the sales, even when I wasn't allowed to sell at this event, and I'm not getting a speaker fee, but I was able to generate $15,000 in sales. Okay. So that's what I'm talking about in terms of monetizing. As long as you're clear on your strategy, you're clear on your programs, and you have the audience is likely to include potential clients, those are all green lights. Green.
So let me ask a clarifying question. If you waived and I love that you said this, because I feel like when we're putting ourselves out there and getting on people's stages, instead of speaking for free, you waive your speaking fee. And that's just, you get something else in exchange for that waiver, essentially. You knew your ideal audience was there, and the next roadblock you encountered was the fact that you couldn't sell from stage. You couldn't position anything for sale from stage. So how did you create the 15,000 in sales?
Yeah. So the same tactic that I talked about earlier, because I offer a free consultation conversation, that's what I offered. And I was allowed to, I asked. So here's a very, very important tip. You always want to make sure, again, I had said this earlier, but just to really underline it, that you as the speaker are in alignment with the meeting organizer, with the organization, with the planner, whoever's running the show. So if they say to you, oh, you can't sell, I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you for letting me know. What does that mean? Like, can you tell me more so that I understand? Because I want to make sure that I am 100% in alignment with you and your event. You get a lot of information when you ask that question and when you open that up for conversation. Because what a lot of people assume is that that's then all they can do is talk about, providing knowledge and never offer some call to action. So just because you can't sell doesn't always mean that you can't offer some type of free call to action. A lot of times it means what they're really saying is, we don't want our audience to feel like you just gave a sales pitch.
Yeah.
So there's a very clear distinction there.
Yeah. And, I found that almost 100% of the time when there's a no sales policy at an event, that they are totally okay with you giving something value-based for free. And it could be something like a phone call, some sort of a strategy session. It could be a literal checklist or anything where you're able to get their email address and you can follow up with them at a later point in time. It's always about the value. How do you showcase value to that audience? And that's usually when the coordinator of an event has that policy. That's the end goal there. They're not wanting their audience to be sold over and over and over again because it's icky, And
Yeah. They've usually been burned. They've usually been burned in the past. Here's another insight. I don't usually share this publicly, but here's the secret to what the meeting planners are, or whoever the person is, whether, they might not be official meeting planner, but the person who's organizing the speakers and whatnot or hosting the event. They don't want to get a bunch of calls, emails, messages after the event saying how horrible the speaker was. They just want everyone to have a really good time, and they want them to come back, and they want them to invite their friends. They're building a community. So as a speaker, if you can link arms with them in doing that, well, then that's a win-win-win, right? Everybody wins.
Absolutely. And so let's dig into getting these opportunities to speak on other people's stages, whether it's a virtual event or it's, an in-person event now that we're back to having in-person events. What is your best strategies for telling people, like, how do you go about getting maybe your first and or next speaking gig?
Yeah. So it's funny. It's like so easy. Right? We're going to blow our minds right now. One of the best ways that I have been able to get booked and stay booked for 9 years now is, without cold calling, is something I call having a speaker soulmate, or having a speaker soulmate system. It is one of those things that it was created organically. It wasn't something I knew I was doing, but by gosh, it works. And it still works to this day. I still do this. So you find somebody, you're like, what's a speaker soulmate? Well, let me tell you. So there's three components to it. Super simple. Think of like your best friend, right? Think of like, that's that kind of quality, an inner circle, close, tight circle. So you want to find somebody who speaks at a similar frequency as you. So if you're newer, find someone who's maybe newer and interested in speaking. You also find someone that you know, like, and trust, because this is someone you're going to refer, they're going to refer you. So you want to make sure there's that reliability, that you like hanging out with this person. Like, this is, again, we're thinking inner circle, best friends, right? You may not know this person yet. I'm just saying this is the kind of qualities you're going to look for. And the third thing, this is really the kicker, is that they speak to similar audiences as you, but are not your competition. All right. So when you find these people, you can just go and interview them. Like just say, hey, I heard this new concept. I'm looking for a referral partner for speaking. You don't have to say speaker soulmate. Um, I'm looking for a referral partner for speaking I want to work with. Would you be interested in that conversation? Super easy. They say yes or no, or, and then if they say yes, keep going. And then set up a system, and I teach this. I actually just taught this at my OC Speakers Network. I finally was like, okay, I need to just put this all in a PDF. I need to like teach people because to me it's so simple, but again, I guess not. And I have gotten hundreds, Kim, of speaking engagements this way. Literally, the carpets rolled right out for me. The red carpets rolled right out, and I get a yes. And I don't have to find the person. I don't have to cold call them. And all of a sudden, I'm getting invited to be on their stage, right? This happens over and over and over again. But it takes that time of nurturing that 1, 2, maybe 3 relationships. Okay. So you don't have to hand your business cards out to thousands of people. Like, or message a ton of strangers on Facebook, right? You can really do this with just a handful of folks.
And it's interesting that you say that because you were referred to me by a mutual friend.
Yep.
So he must be your speaker soulmate or one of your speaker soulmates. So that is pretty interesting. So, and it's interesting to me that you don't say, well, go to your local, local organizations and pitch your expertise, which you can do, and is also a way to get in front of an audience. But that is definitely a unique approach to the most unique approach I've ever heard. I've never heard of that before, but it makes sense.
It works.
So,
I think, people just think it's got to be really hard. And if you've never been in sales, but you want to speak, it's just going to be tough to like pick up that phone, right?
Yeah.
And cold call. I have had a lot of experience in decades of experience in sales. And I used to have to make 100 phone calls a day at this one job. I mean, which I don't recommend. Like, it's not fun, right? So I just think people like, we got to make it fun. You got to make it easy for yourself. It's already hard enough being an entrepreneur. We don't need to make it harder.
Yeah, definitely. And too, one of the things that you didn't talk about, but this is a byproduct of, if somebody recommends someone to you that you already have a know, like, and trust factor with, like I interviewed Jim Fuse on my show. I've known him before. When he said, hey, you need to know Leisa, I'm like, okay, sure. Never even questioned him on it. I just knew that I trusted his knowledge and his recommendation. And, so it was like a bridge that was immediately there that Leisa didn't have to work for. No. So I don't know. Some of you guys were with me last week when I talked about, how you generate leads using other people's communities. And I spoke about one of the reasons that getting on other people's stages is so powerful is because you don't have to earn that audience. Somebody else has already done it for you and they're passing the baton to you. So, and this is just one other approach to it, but I love it. I love this. I've never heard this.
And there's so many ideas. Like, that's just like one to me has been work. That's the easiest, funnest one that I do. And so it is like anything else. Like, once you get started, all of a sudden the snowball starts to roll down that hill and get bigger. Sometimes people are just like, how do I actually get started? And like, I have one client who he'll be like, I don't know anybody. I don't know anyone. I don't know how to get speaking gigs. I'm like, okay, I will call him John. I'm like, John, we already know that's not true because every time you pick up the phone and you call somebody, they ask you to speak. So let me just remind you that you do have a network and that you have spoken. And he's like, oh yeah, that's right. Well, and then he'll say, well, actually, I guess I have 3 speaking gigs booked. And I'm like, oh, you have 3. I thought you had 0. So sometimes we just get in our head and we think we don't have anything.
We absolutely do. So going back to, again, if you find somebody, the speaker soulmate that you're talking about, and they start, what normally happens is it was just an organic conversation that Jim and I were having. He's like, are you looking for somebody that has this area of expertise? And I'm like, sure. And so then he just made the connection, right? So that is usually, I agree, a very smart, a wicked smart way of getting in front of other people's communities is just letting somebody else refer you and working that conversation out. But let's say you get that first opportunity, find that person that's going to refer you to others that are looking for your expertise. The expectation potentially is that you're not necessarily going to get paid for it.
Mhm.
You're going to go share your value into a community of people who are already have potential to hold your ideal client in it.
Yep.
Next, what's next? How do you
Yeah.
actually plan to monetize that opportunity?
Yeah. So that's where we do the Get Your Talk Ready Rock. So we've already, if someone's working with me, I'd say let's do the Get Your Talk Ready Rock in the first 30 days, because then you have that product on the shelf. You can rest easy. You're like, okay, this is my stuff. Like I call it, I call myself like a talk doula, talk midwife, talk whatever, gynecologist, because I'm like, we are going to literally, or OBGYN, I guess would be a better term. We are literally going to give birth to your baby, give birth to your talk. And when that baby comes out, it's like you look in the baby's eyes and you fall in love instantly. That's how I want all of my clients to feel. And they feel that way when we actually give birth to that talk. It's super exciting, because if you're not excited about your talk, you're not in love with your talk, audience probably isn't going to really be excited or in love with it either. And that includes that call to action. So once you're like, oh my gosh, I've got this product on the shelf, this is so exciting, you're going to be like, you want to sing it from the rafters. Like you want to just get in front of anyone who would be willing to listen, right? That's kind of the feeling that you end up having. I think what keeps people in the speaker's closet, if you will, is not really sure. Like, I don't know what stories to share. I don't know if I just have so much information. I can't narrow it down. I can't edit. So all that keeps you hidden. It keeps you back, right? And because you're not like ready to show the world. So basically, it's like, let's get you ready to show the world, so that when you do step out, when you do get that phone call or that referral, or you start, telling your local community, you're putting it on social media that you're a speaker, you have your ducks in a row. Otherwise, it's again, Kim, you may know, I am a big fan of like limiting resistance. Like there's already enough resistance. How can we eliminate the resistance as much as possible, lower it? If you were a kid in the 80s, you probably played on slip and slide, right? And if you have any dirt or rocks on the slip and slide, it's not a good time. And that's that resistance. So I would say, like, let's get the dirt and rocks off the slip and slide. We want to get it like nice and whoosh, where you just slip on slide right into that next speaking engagement, so that you can say yes. I've gotten like I got a huge speaking engagement, a paid speaking engagement actually, and one that I got clients when I was at a barbecue, like, because I'm ready. Like, that's what I want you to be. Anyone who works with me, I want you to be ready to go, ready to say yes, ready to get on a stage. Like, oh, a speaker canceled. Can you step in tomorrow? Let me look at my schedule. Yes, I can. Great. I'll be there. Like, I want you to just be ready.
So I agree. Having those signature talk, a signature talk or talks, if you
Yeah.
have several lanes, is smart. And I really wanted to go back to, I'm always about the monetization, not, that said, I haven't always been smart myself with this, is just because from a speaking perspective, I have always been so focused on the value and not being salesy. It's always been like I got to do that. I don't want to lead or make it seem like I'm out there to just, sell my stuff. But I've really nailed this over the last couple of years, and it's essentially exactly the strategy that Leisa is talking about, where it's not about giving, trying to make a sale necessarily. It's about how do you give value with a opportunity to connect with that person. So mine is a call, just like yours. It's a call, because I would say for a lot of people, especially for high dollar or higher ticket things, you're going to need to talk to someone in order to sell them into something. But it's also, in the other side of the coin, it's a value proposition if you position it correctly. So if you are saying this is it's a sales call, like that comes across like it's a sales call. Like how many people in the audience are going to sign up or reach out to you? Which leads me to my core of my question. How do you position that call? What does it look like when you're on stage and you're, how do you word it essentially?
Yeah, it's funny. there's so many components to you giving your call to action. And I think people, so I say certain words and I'll share that. But I think even more than it sharing the exact words, it's more, I believe, your emotion, your feeling, your intention. That is contagious, even virtually, right? I think people can sense if you are in integrity, if you're like real. And also, I think I'm a huge fan of you being you. Like, don't pretend to be somebody else or try to be perfect or try to say it exactly this right way. So I'll give you my example of how I do it, but it's not word for word. I don't have a script. I practiced it so enough, and I've done enough talks and closes that I feel really comfortable with that. But I do recommend practicing your call to action, of course, until I'm a huge fan of unconscious confidence, until you get it like in that you are like, you can do it without even thinking about it. That's where I want you to be, right? So mine is called a speaker readiness assessment, and it involves some questions on there, because I really want to have a juicy conversation with you. I want to know, why do you want to speak? Why are you not speaking? Like, what's in the way? Where's the holes in the bucket? And how can I support you? That is the conversation we're going to have. If we get to the point in the conversation where we think, you know what, we should talk about working together, we'll decide that because we're both adults, and we're going to just say, yeah, I think we should talk about this. And if it makes sense, we will. Okay. And that's what that's the speaker readiness assessments. And I'll give them a link and a QR code, and they can go on their merry way.
But it makes it sound value-based to them. It's not like you're trying to sell them something. And that was what I was the point that I was trying to make. I believe that there's a way to do this without it coming across as, oh, you're getting on a sales call with me, which I think people appreciate. The other thing that you said that I really loved was the fact that people can sense our intention. We've all been sold to enough to know whether somebody's being genuine or not. And if they come across like, I'm here to serve or I'm here to sell, is very, very different and can absolutely be picked up on, I think. So, when you're in a position of being on somebody else's stage, if you really bring your authenticity, I know it's a buzz phrase, but if you really let that shine, and you're there not to see all those folks as dollar signs, but to make a difference, it comes across. So
yeah, and I think it's changes as your journey in entrepreneurship, advances. I think initially it's like, oh my gosh, is someone going to say yes? Am I going to ever get a client? Or like maybe you're worried about bills or whatever. We all have our issues, things that we're worried about. And as you start to, again, this is where that like wading into the pool, like as you start to experience people saying, A, people even signing up to do your call, like, oh my gosh, how exciting is that? That's the first step, right? B, them going, yeah, actually, I do want to hear about your program. I would love to know more. And then C, going, yeah, sign me up. I'd love to do it. Like that is a huge accomplishment as an entrepreneur or coach, or it's exciting, but it's still a new process if you've never done it before. So again, it's like, be gentle with yourself, give yourself some grace, practice until you kind of feel like you got it down, and then up level.
Yeah, it's just a journey. Get on the road first, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So Paul asked a great question. Do you ever practice your talk before you give it?
Oh, yes. That is the least expensive way to be a good speaker. I am shocked when I unfortunately am in the audience of someone who clearly has not practiced. It actually hurts my heart. So please practice. Now, once you've given your talk, again, it's all about, I mentioned unconscious competence before. That it's like, what does it take to get you to unconscious competence? I don't know. How many times do you need to practice? I don't know. That's going to be different for each person. But you got to get to this point where you're not thinking about your content and messing up or getting it right, because that's the stage of conscious competence. Like, oh, I know my talk, but I'm still like making sure I'm doing it right. That's conscious competence. Unconscious competence is when you're like, the lights could go out, the microphone could go out, anything could happen, but I got my talk. I know it. I'm good. Let's keep moving. And that's a really beautiful place to be. So if I have new content, absolutely I practice. If I have, sometimes I think shorter is harder, like 10 minutes or 2 minutes is harder to speak than for an hour. So that'll really get tight and really practice it. So great question though.
I love that. Awesome. Well, listen, I know there's so many people out there that probably are saying, wow, this isn't necessarily the same status quo. Like, it's not about getting, and I'm not that's to say that we don't turn down opportunities to get paid to get on somebody's stage, but you can be intentional about getting on people's stages with an unpaid strategy. And I love that you have this approach of just monetizing the opportunities to get in front of other people with a plan, instead of going at it from, well, I don't even know how to get on somebody else's stage to, much less monetizing it. That said, I know you have several opportunities that people can connect with you and work with you. Share how people can do that. I would love for people to get an opportunity to really plug into your expertise.
Oh, thank you, Kim. Yeah, you can go to getspeakinggigsnow.com. That will allow you access to 5 top tips to get more speaking gigs. So that's getspeakinggigsnow.com. Gigs with an S because you want more than one, right? You don't just want one speaking gig. So you're all welcome to grab that. If you're feeling like speaking is definitely in your future, you would like some guidance there, you've got some holes in the bucket, absolutely invite you to take advantage of the speaker readiness assessment. It will be literally what I just said earlier. You're going to get an opportunity to answer some juicy questions. I read them. I want to see what's going on in your world. Why speaking? Why now? Why not? What's going on? Let's have a conversation about that. And it's basically like you're going to pull your car into the garage. We're going to pop open the hood and take a look and see what you got. And if it makes sense for us to talk about working together, we'll save some time to do that as well. That is at getspeakinggigsnow.com/chat. So super easy, getspeakinggigsnow.com/chat. And we'll make sure and put that link in the chat for you as well. Can't wait to meet you.
Yeah, awesome. Definitely. I know she gave us 2 links. We dropped one in already. We'll get the other one in for you guys as well. And I just wanted to give a shout out to our winners today. Barb and Kristen won the Done For You social media graphics, the gratitude collection. So go to kimgross.com/winner. We'll get you set up, get a login for you, and you will be able to download those and go to town. All right. Awesome. All right. Excellent. So the other one is, let's see. Yeah, we'll make sure we drop those links in for you guys. So don't leave right away if you're interested, or you can also, what was that last link again? One last time. Oh, here it is.
Got it. Rhonda's got it.
I knew she would get it in here. All right. Definitely check out, go check it out, connect with Leisa, because I think you guys will get immense value, because it's not necessarily about, like I say, those paid opportunities. It's about being intentional with getting into those opportunities to monetize, waive those speaking fees if you have to out the gate, especially if you're just getting started. So I love it. Leisa, thank you so much for being with us today. Appreciate your zone of genius and all the amazing stuff that you shared with us. Thanks so much. I want to say thanks to the audience, you guys that are here with us live or watching on the replay or listening. Your time is valuable. We honor it when you spend some with us. So thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day. We'll be here next week, same time, same place. Our guest next week is going to be, hang on, you guys, our guest next week is my friend first, my student next, and my client as well. So we've had an evolving relationship over the years, but he has got an amazing message to share with us. And I'm super excited because it's going to be about something that I think is at the root of all of our success is mindset. And if we don't have the right one, sometimes we get bogged down at various layers in our business. So I'm excited to have him on next week. We'll see you guys then, same time, same place. Again, Leisa, thank you so much. Appreciate you so much for being with us. Thanks.